This video is going to discuss why the INTJs love the ENTPs, how much we enjoy watching your antics, engaging with your breadth of knowledge, and honestly, just your presence. ENTPs, there's never a dull moment around you guys. A lot of the times it's hectic, but I have to admit, as an INTJ, I enjoy it. It's so interesting as an INTJ to see you guys code switching. And when I say code switching, I'm talking about when you guys are able to say something that's completely out of the blue and so horrific where everyone's jaw just dropped and you guys say it nonchalantly. And then you guys are able to make it so that it doesn't sound as bad anymore because you guys are able to follow it up with your charisma. It's amazing to witness. Unless you attack someone's FI, in that case, you guys messed up. Not only do you guys have the ability to get away with saying some of the most ridiculous things, but you guys have this natural charisma where you guys can captivate a room and make people fall in love with you. And as an INTJ who has witnessed that firsthand, it's also interesting to me whenever I see you guys engage with people, make them fall in love with you, and then when we walk away from them, you're like, oh, I don't really care about that person. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you spend time making that person feel liked if you don't care about them? As an INTJ, that's a waste of time for me. It's also interesting as an INTJ to see how much you guys enjoy engaging with us. And let's be real about it. It's because the INTJ is harder to crack and we see through your gimmick, but you guys actually enjoy that because when you're around an INTJ, you actually have an audience to see the show that you're going to perform with a person who is unknowingly part of the show. And most of the time, the INTJ isn't gonna say anything because we're just as curious to see how things are gonna turn out. And also, it's entertaining. It's very entertaining to watch you guys rattle a person or their belief system using your intellect. Because when the INTJ gets put in that position that you're in, when you're talking about a person's belief system or something, INTJs are just seen as rude. However, as an ENTP, you guys are able to do it in a way to finesse it where even though people think you're rude, they still like you. And before I begin this video, I know I'm gonna have to say this. This video is gonna go against a lot of your TISI framework, and it's gonna be my perspective from a more TEFI lens. If you're an ENTP that has an INTJ in your life, you probably already know this, but the INTJ probably understand your value system way more than you do. And this video comes from an INTJ who's been analyzing my ENTP friends for over 2 decades. I don't wanna get too lovey-dovey in this video, but I do wanna throw out there, I understand why the ENTP and the INTJ are one of the golden pairs. All right, let's begin. Let's begin with story time. It is hilarious to me when I see the ENTP, ENTJ memes, because I have experienced that my entire life, even before I knew about MBTI. I remember back in high school when my ENTP friend would challenge my ENTJ friend in getting a higher score in a test. And after he would challenge him, he would look back at me and he'd just smirk at me because I knew that he doesn't actually mean it. He's just trolling. But the funny thing is that the ENTJ is unaware that he's trolling. I've had so many discussions with my ENTJ friend telling him, hey, you know, the ENTP doesn't actually care about beating you. He's just saying that to rile you up, right? And the ENTJ didn't really care what I said because he took it as a challenge.
I'm gonna beat the ENTP.
What are you gonna beat him in? He doesn't care. That relationship, that challenging mode that the ENTP has always performed my ENTJ friend has been there our entire lives. We're in our mid-30s and he still does it. And the ENTJ still takes the bait every single time. And I'm always in the background like, oh my God, we're at it again. And that same ENTP friend, every time we see each other, challenges me on the most ridiculous things, whether it's going to sleep early or just ideas or thoughts or something. And I feel bad for his NFP wife too, because she knows she can't stop it whenever we engage each other this way. There was a moment where I thought she was gonna kill me because he wouldn't stop engaging with me when he was drunk. And I was just like, dude, go back to your wife. She gave me the nastiest eyes and I'm just like, I'm trying to de-escalate the situation. I want him to go back to you too. Now let's go back to the INTJ-ENTP relationship. The first thing that I do want to say is that ENTPs, you guys are funny as hell. Annoying at times, but sometimes I know you guys do that purposely. I've said this in a previous video that I recorded about every single type, but the ENTPs in my life has been the loudest people in my life. And when I say loudest people, I'm not talking about vocal range. I'm talking about you guys just talk and talk and talk and talk. You guys talk enough for the both of us. We're in a conversation. The INTJ really doesn't need to say anything because the conversation is going to get filled by the ENTP. But don't take that as a negative because every single time an ENTP talks using NE, you guys are able to help us refine our NI. So it's a mutually beneficial conversation. But sometimes you guys don't stop. Similar to INFJs, INTJs also have NI and SE, which means that whenever we hear your thoughts, it has no prejudice. You guys are actually safe from ridicule when you talk to an INTJ about your any thoughts. Another reason why I believe that ENTPs love INTJs is because we have FI, which means that regardless of how ridiculous your thoughts are, how morbid it might be, and how people might take it in a negative light, when you talk to an INTJ who has FI, who has developed FI, we're gonna back you up no matter what. Not only does NI actually want to hear what NE has to say, FI is there to protect you guys. I don't want to talk about feelings yet, but we're definitely going to get there eventually. So as an ENTP, you guys have NENTI, so that means you guys are able to generate all these random ideas and then put it in a framework that actually has some type of application to it. However, when you guys try to explain it to people, it kind of sounds like you guys are jumping all over the place. And as a person who doesn't have NE, it's so interesting to hear you guys talk because you guys are legitimately all over the place all at once. So when we're in a group, when we're engaging with other people, your NE might seem as if it's all over the place, but as an INTJ who has NINTE, we're able to help you condense what you're saying so that it makes sense. And when you guys say stuff that's a little ridiculous, the INTJ is going to back you up because you make sense to us. And even if you don't make sense to us, you're our ENTP. So we're going to have your back regardless. And this dynamic doesn't only relate to conversation. It spreads itself in everything that we do. It could be working on a group project together. It could be playing video games together. It could be playing sports together. It could be dancing together. It could be anything else out there. One of the things about being an INTJ is that we have Mama TE in our second slot, which means that we're going to take care of people. And when we engage with an ENTP, you guys might think it, but you guys aren't as refined as you think you are. So when you're around an INTJ, we're going to take care of things to make sure that you are as optimal as possible because that's what TE wants. We care about you and we're going to take care of the external world so that you are the best that you can be. Using a co-op video game as an example, the INTJ will give you the best equipment to watch you shine because we know we can handle everything else and we want you to be happy. The INTJ doesn't care about spotlight. What we care about is that you are taken care of and you are enjoying your time being around us. One of the things that doesn't get talked about much when you talk about the ENTP-INTJ relationship is that we love to stress test things. So when we engage people about a topic, not only do we care about the topic, we care about how much that person actually knows about that topic. But as an INTJ, when we realize that someone doesn't know their topic as much as we do, or they don't know their shit, we're just gonna stop talking to them. But as an ENTP, not only do you stab them with your intellect knife, you wiggle that shit around. There's a look that you guys have whenever you guys engage with that mode. And I'm not talking about the mode where you're missing information for TI. You're trying to make the other person realize how dumb they are, or you're just trolling them. And as an INTJ, I don't play that game. And this goes back to what I said earlier in the video. As INTJs, you ENTPs can't break us. And you guys can't break us for two reasons. The first reason is because you guys have NE and TI. Because whenever you guys use NE and TI to talk, there's a lot of logical fallacies. And as an NI user, we're gonna pick that shit apart. And it's also not fair either whenever we have this type of discussion because every time you guys talk NE, which you guys are usually the one that's gonna talk first because you guys have an extroverted function, you guys actually help us refine our NI real time. So it might sound like we know what we're talking about, but most of the time we're just collecting all the information that you provided and then putting in a framework that makes sense. So we don't have all the information, but what we do is collect all the information that you provided us and then spit it back out to you so that you question your own TI framework. And the second reason is super easy. You're gonna see this whenever you engage with an INTJ or an ISTJ. When we don't know what we're talking about, we're not gonna talk about it. Simple as that. So sometimes when ENTP is upset with the INTJ, when you feel like we're a know-it-all, it's typically a result of you engaging with us and topics we actually know about. So when you're upset at us, it's because you're talking about something we actually know. And we have NI. That means we're going to do as much research as necessary to understand. But the funny thing is you guys actually enjoy that too, that challenge. Even when you ENTPs hate it when someone questions your TI, you appreciate the INTJ because there's a lot of perspective that you haven't thought about. There's a meme out there where the INTJ is able to harness the bubbly personality ENFP and then like weaponize it. It's the same way when we engage with ENTPs. We're able to harness your thoughts and frameworks and then weaponize it. That's what INTJs do. Another thing I noticed about ENTPs is that your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. ENTPs feel like gods or goddesses with how much intellect that you guys have accumulated and how witty you guys are. But you guys also have the same folly as a god. You guys feel only as strong as how much followers you have. It's time to talk about your favorite topic, FE and FI. The easiest way to talk about FI and FE is to talk about the most famous INTJ ENTP love story. The love story that everyone in the world knows about. The relationship between Batman and the Joker. And if you didn't already know, Batman is an INTJ. That's why I have his figurine. The Joker is only as effective as his followers. He needs his henchmen to carry out his plans. And the Joker gets bored whenever there's not an audience to witness all the plans that he has in place. ENTPs seek external validation and you guys thrive in it. Now let's take a look at Batman. Most of the issue that Batman deals with, he deals with himself. Yes, sometimes he has a crew, but a lot of the issues that he deals with solo. Batman doesn't care about recognition. He does what he thinks is right, what his heart is telling him, his FI. Justice. The reason why I brought up the example is to show you the difference between FE and FI. FI is in your 7th stack, so it's one of the least engaged cognitive functions that you have. Every single ENTP I have in my life don't understand FI. Even my ENTP friend who's married to an NFP. It doesn't make sense to you guys, and I understand why you guys don't understand it, because you guys try to TI everything. Speaking as a TE user, I admire TI, but I also understand its limitations. You guys think you guys could be efficient at something just by learning it. That's not how things work. It's impossible to fully understand something when it comes down to psychology, when it comes down to people. This video isn't to put you guys down, so I don't want to attack your FE too much. What I am going to say is that because you guys lack FI, because it's not in one of your top 4 stacks, it's actually at the bottom of your stack, you guys don't really understand who you guys are or what you guys care about. And the funny thing is, even when you guys talk about it, even in your 30s or 40s, it doesn't feel like FI. As an INTJ who tried to ignore FI my entire life and eventually understood that I can't run away from it, whenever I hear an ENTP talk about their FI, it's not FI, it's still FE. You guys are still talking about people, whether it's your influence on them or their influence on you. The easiest way that I can explain what I'm talking about is that if you ask an ENTP about what's bothering them, if you ask them why 5 times or more, you're eventually going to get to the root of the problem, and that problem typically stems from other people. And the reason why I can say that is because I'm an FI user and I'm an INTJ. Other people's feelings rarely affects me. So whenever I engage an ENTP, whenever they're down, upset, or any other emotion that's negative, it typically has to do with someone else. Because if you were to talk about FI, then you would talk about your own value system, and it stems from you as an individual. But whenever I talk to an NTP, they talk about their value system, and their value system typically has other people that engage with them. So you might be one of those ENTPs who tries to have this persona that you don't care what other people think, but you guys care more than other types. I can honestly say this 1,000,000%. ENTPs care way more about what other people think than what INTJs think. INTJs only care about who our FI cares about. But you ENTPs, you guys actually care about people who aren't even part of your FI. And to tie this all back as to why ENTPs and INTJs are one of the golden pairs is because we are able to help you with that. ENTPs and INTJs, we don't share any of the same cognitive functions, but we have sister functions, so we respect the other person. And we actually have the same ordering of functions. We start with intuition, thinking, feeling, and then sensing. Whenever you guys engage with a certain function, we are able to match you, but just from the opposite end. And one of the beauties of having opposite functions is not necessarily that we don't think the other person is not trying to understand us. We are able to accept, no matter how much they try, they're never fully able to see things the same way that we do, but they're going to show how much they care in their own way. And that's admirable. This video is getting a little too emotional, so let me wrap this up. INTJs love ENTPs. Not only do we think you guys are funny as fuck, but you guys are also intellectual people. You guys help the INTJs so much because you guys provide us entertainment, and you guys are also able to help us refine our NI with your NE ideas. And in return, the INTJ is an audience member that's going to watch all your performances and it's going to have your back no matter what. Not only that, but you're also able to receive a recognition that most people would never understand because they're unable to follow you, but the INTJ can. You guys aren't gods or goddesses, but you guys are the closest out of all of us. And that's all for this video, folks. Don't forget to support the channel by leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing to the channel. I'd really appreciate it, and I know my cat will appreciate it too. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye.